Yo dudes, welcome to the creamiest butter chicken that happens to be vegan. And excuse us calling it chicken, we're actually gonna use oyster mushrooms, but oyster mushroom wasn't as catchy a title. This is incredible, this is decadent, this is rich, this is creamy, and it's so grizzly and tasty and delicious. My kids adored it last night. So, traditionally how this recipe apparently came about was originally it was a tandoori chicken that was quite dry, and what they did was they cooked it in this kind of creamy, buttery sauce to kind of soften it. We're gonna do it with mushrooms to start with. So we're using oyster. You could use any type of mushroom that you like. First step, just rip it up. Mushrooms are an amazing food in that they're always in season. These are grown locally just up the road. They're organic, they're local, and they're just so tasty. Okay, for our marinade, we're gonna put in 3 tablespoons of our own spicy red pepper pesto. If you do not have this pesto, just use 3 tablespoons of pesto of choice and put in a little nice kind of half a teaspoon of chili powder just to add a bit of bite to it. In on top of that, I've 1 tablespoon of garam masala, half a teaspoon of turmeric, and about a teaspoon of salt. And take your clean hands, and I think there's no other way of doing this, take your clean hands and just get in there. Next step, I have 50 grams of cashew nuts. I'm gonna soak them just to soften them. These are gonna be one of the fat of the sauce. So just pour in boiling water just on top of it, and we're gonna leave it soak for 10 minutes. Okay, time to cook off our mushrooms. Take a non-stick wide bottom pan, pop in 1 tablespoon of oil or in or around that. Okay, into our mushrooms. And it might seem like there's loads, but don't worry, they will fry down to a lot less. And try to get all those little kind of bits in the corner because they're all just flavor bits. Okay, important part of this is that you don't cook it till it's too much. I'm about 6 minutes in now that we've been cooking it because you still want those mushrooms still to have a bit of moisture, a bit of chew. Like when I eat it now, it's still very moist. It's beautiful. But it has a nice bite to it, so turn it off just before you overcook it until it goes hard and charry and tight, which is what we don't want. I'm gonna transfer them back into a bowl now before I make our sauce. Okay, so we're not gonna clean out our pan because we don't wanna waste flavor. So as a chef, you're a sorcerer of flavor. So you don't wanna waste any flavor. There's lots in the pan, leave it there. Okay, time to make our butter sauce. This is magnificent. Okay, into a pan, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, which does seem like a lot, but this is a creamy butter sauce. I've got 20 grams of vegan block butter, in that goes, and allow that to melt. As they start to melt, it's time to add in our spices. So I have half a teaspoon of ground turmeric, 2 cardamom pods, and half a teaspoon of cumin seeds. We're gonna pop them into the pan and fry them for a minute or 2. If you don't have vegan block butter, just use an extra 2 tablespoons of olive oil. So you see it getting that beautiful color, and just scrape in those other bit of remaining flavors just to kind of deglaze the pan and just kind of, again, we don't want to waste flavor. So we've got 1 onion, which we finely diced, and just add it in. So now that your onions are starting to soften, they're starting to go ever so slightly charred around the edges, time to add in our garlic. We have 2 cloves of garlic, which we finely diced, and I've got some fresh ginger. I'm just gonna grate in half a thumb-sized piece. So it's easier using a microplane. Just mix that through. We only want to fry the garlic for about another minute because we really don't want it to burn. In on top of that, I have half a teaspoon of garam masala, half a teaspoon of ground cumin, and half a teaspoon of ground coriander. In they go. Okay, this is beginning to look like a flavor bomb. Okay, it's time to bring this sauce together. I've got 1 tin of chopped tomatoes, that's 400 grams in this goes into the pan. Just be careful, there will be a bit of sizzle here. Next step, I've 1 tin of coconut milk. If you do live in a warm country, you're best storing it in the fridge. You're gonna get more natural separation. And we're just taking the cream off this. None of the water, just the fat. So just this top layer. So as I mentioned, if you do live in a country like Ireland, it will naturally separate. However, if you live in a warm country, you're better off putting it in the fridge. So just save the water here, just keep it for another day, for another dish. It just won't be quite as fat and quite as creamy. Okay, this is the exciting bit. Time to bring this dish together. I'm gonna turn it off the heat. I'm gonna drain and rinse our cashew nuts. So we're gonna drain and rinse our cashew nuts. Rinsing them, it helps remove an acid, which kind of adds a bitter flavor. So just make sure to really get in there and give them a really nice clean. Okay, time to build this sauce. This is such a good sauce, and wait till you try it, it's phenomenal. Okay, in go our soaked and rinsed cashew nuts into a blender. Next step, we've all our sauce. So just be careful here. Don't want to lose any of this flavor. Pop the lid on and we're gonna blend. Okay, it's worth giving the time just to make sure that's, oh my God, look at that sauce. It's such a beautiful color, and when you taste it, the flavor is just magnificent. Like, it's such a good sauce. Ah. Okay, so this sauce will last for about 3 to 4 days in the fridge, so don't worry if you don't use it all, but it's so good you'll end up eating it all. So our pan is on nice and hot. In goes our full sauce, which will seem like a lot. So just taste it and season it to your palate. So I'm going with a nice generous pinch of salt, approximately about 3/4 of a teaspoon. This is a coarse sea salt. I just think it just really helps round the flavors of this dish. Okay, to bring the dish together, we have our 400 grams of cooked oyster mushrooms. Just heat this up on a low heat just for a minute or two, just so the flavors marry. Try not to mix it too much because you don't want the kind of sauce of the oyster mushrooms going into the sauce too much. Okay, time to plate this up. So I've got about 300 grams of cooked brown basmati rice. In goes our curry. I'm not gonna eat all this. This is a serving dish to share, just in case anyone's wondering. I'm gonna garnish it with some fresh coriander. Obviously, if you don't like fresh cilantro or coriander, just replace it with, you know, Thai basil, or you could use flat parsley, you could use chive or something like that, and it would work fabulous. Okay, here we go. Without further ado, vegan butter chicken. Oh my God. The sauce is creamy. It's light, it's fluffy, it's aromatic, it's warming, like from the ginger and garlic. Like, it's super balanced, genuinely tastes like something that you would get from a good Indian takeaway. I think the mushrooms just provide this wonderful grizzle. I was told by our publishers that grizzle actually isn't a word, but I think it is. Comment down below. Anyway, this is magnificent, takes 20 minutes, so worth trying, incredibly tasty. Thank you for watching, thank you for subscribing to our channel, and wishing you a great day ahead. Cheers!